Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast. Part of the I Love Buffalo network with your host, Josh Catry.
Bonjour, Buffalo. Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast. I'm your host, Josh Catry. Today on the podcast, the search continues for a local Buffalonian and member of the jiu-jitsu community as she goes mysteriously missing. Josh Allen wins the MVP for the NFL. And we start our multi-part series for anyone interested in entrepreneurship right here in Buffalo. All of this and more on this episode of the I Love Buffalo podcast.
Try to put the storm behind us. Be the best we can be. But sometimes it feels like that storm's got the best of me. Yeah, they talk to me. I hear voices in my head. Yeah, they sing to me every night when I lay in bed.
As usual, we highlight a clip from a local Buffalo, New York band, and that was a band called Flashback with the original track called Voices in My Head. My wife, Julie, and I had a chance to see them over the weekend at the Sportsman's, and they were fantastic live. If you got a chance to see them, highly recommend them. Check them out. On Facebook, they go by the name Flashback Band, so you can find them on Facebook as well. Our first story that we're starting off is one that's unfolding as we speak. There is a missing person who is not only part of the local Buffalo community, but also part of the jiu-jitsu community and the law enforcement community here. Her name is Leah Bellito. I might be saying that wrong, but Bellitto of Amherst. And she was last seen by her family in the Ransom Oaks neighborhood Saturday night. She is described as being 5 foot 6 inches tall with brown eyes and brown hair. Police say she was last seen wearing a black long sleeve t-shirt and black pajama pants with a blue flower patterned backpack. We'll continue this story as we go along here, but right now, for her safety, the most important thing is if anyone has any information about her, please contact the Amherst Police at 716-689-1311 or the local FBI office. So if you know anything about that, please do that now. And if you don't know anything, like myself, here are some facts we can look at that have been released. First, fact number 1. Leah was a student at Lake Effect Martial Arts. It's a very well-respected jiu-jitsu academy in our town here. It's out kind of near the airport. And by all accounts, she was well-liked and had a positive attitude right up to the days before she went missing. Fact number 2, the 24 hours before she went missing, she seemed to cut off communications with many people in many avenues, including sending emails to people, removing herself from social media, private groups, and platforms in a fashion that was abrupt. And so that is what we have heard. The third fact we know is that Leah worked as an agent for the FBI right up until the days she went missing. Fact number 4, she apparently ended a relationship recently. Don't know that many details about the relationship. It doesn't seem like this was a major cause, but it's hard to say for sure. It was kind of a long distance relationship, and it was relatively not a long-term relationship that would come with a lot of baggage. But I'm not 100% sure about those facts, but those seem pretty straightforward. And then fact number 5 was that she withdrew thousands of dollars from her account, left her phones behind, all of her tablets, all of her communications, and purposely cut off communication with the world. So with these basic facts that are out there, I talked to a bunch of my law enforcement friends and friends that have worked in private investigations and other things like that, and asked them what would cause someone to do this. And I heard, basically 3 things. It could be self-harm, self-healing, or protection from danger. So, if this is self-harm, if that's the case, and the off chance that you are listening to this somehow, Leah, just know there's a lot of people that are caring about you. And whatever you're going through, you don't have to go through it alone. Tons of people care about you, and they all want to help you solve whatever problem it is you're facing. So please reach out, let someone in. There's other options. This is the second reason, self-healing. That's great. Sometimes you need that. You need to break away and go heal and go find a way to recover. And there could be many reasons for this. It could be a breakup. It could be some other path in your life that has taken you to a place you didn't want to be and you just wanted to change your life. If you're leaving to go meditate in the mountains or heal or do anything like that, that's great. But please reach out to your family some way and let them know you're okay. Send them a postcard or something like that. And the third reason for someone to disappear like this in a strange fashion would be if that person was in danger and needed to hide from someone or something. And given her line of work, I assume she knows how to disappear. So all we know for sure is that she left a great job, a great community behind, friends and family, and hopefully we can find a happy ending to this story. But as of right now, she's a missing person. Again, if you have any information, please reach out to the Amherst Police or the FBI, and hopefully Leah makes it home safely. Okay, let's switch up gears here. This is going to be part one of a multi-part series called So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur in Buffalo. And this is not just for people already with businesses. This is for anyone who's interested in being an entrepreneur, learning how businesses can work, or people who might want to be an entrepreneur in the future. It could be the mom at home just looking to start a little side business. Maybe she wants to sell some freeze-dried fruit snacks or get into business selling crafts on Etsy or something like that. Or to the person who wants to start a multi-billion-dollar tech company, which can come from Buffalo. For example, ACV Auctions is a multi-billion-dollar business that was started right here in Buffalo. And by the way, many of the founders trained at Buffalo United Martial Arts where I train. And interestingly enough, they had their first business meeting at Pearl Street where my office is. So I got to see a little bit about what it takes to form a giant billion-dollar corporation. And I've seen plenty of smaller and mid-sized ones and big ones as well, like Riverworks, Pearl Street, Buffalo United Martial Arts, Red October Baits, and more. But for this first episode, we're going to use this segment to break down entrepreneurship, what it means, and why I respect it so much. First, I respect entrepreneurship because of vulnerability. You need skin in the game to be an entrepreneur. You need to make a sacrifice with both your time and your money. From the hairstylist that opens their own salon, to the musical band that forms and puts themselves out there, to a new startup formed for a tech company, all of these require vulnerability. Vulnerability always requires courage, and we honor courage. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, know this. You've already earned my respect for just trying. It's hard, it's risky, but most importantly, you have the creative ability to bring something new to people, something positive. If done right, you could be responsible for a system, a business, that ends up helping a lot of people. But also keep in mind, if you do it wrong, you could hurt a lot of people. So that's a big responsibility and one that requires vulnerability. Humans are creative. It is the single best thing we can do for each other is be creative, help each other solve problems with our creativity, help build better systems, help make things easier for each other. And any boss who doesn't allow their employees to have a creative say in the problem-solving process truthfully isn't using the best thing that they have at their disposal, which is each other. And so solving this problem and getting people to be creative together in groups is one that is not easily solved or has been solved on a regular basis, at least with my experience. Most businesses and systems that I have seen are top-down ones, where the top tells you what to do. You don't have a lot of creative control or say in what your system is doing or changing, and you kind of got to just do whatever they tell you to do. If you are in charge of a system, I highly recommend you don't do this. I highly recommend you listen to all of the people inside your system and amplify their voice instead of try to mute it. Because if you do this, you will be amplifying the most powerful thing that you have at your disposal, which is their creativity. It sounds maybe like hyperbole, but it's not. The most powerful force in the universe is people collaborating. We have the ability to control physics with people collaborating. You can change skylines. You can put satellites into space and make transportation and the internet and health and wellness and end suffering. That all comes from human collaboration. So if a boss or owner fosters the creativity, there's a healthy system that can exist there. Groups of high trust people can solve problems together if that's the culture of the business. And that is the responsibility of the entrepreneur, the person who starts the business, sets the culture. I've been lucky to be part of many of these such systems that have great cultures and show great results. And the philosophy behind human collaboration isn't just a feel-good story, as in like, we're not just saying, oh, let's work together so we can all have success together. No, it sounds good, sure, but there's science behind it. Collaboration is the best way to build compound interest with each other and trust and to have the right outcomes in groups. Like if you want the best outcomes working as a group, the group that collaborates the best literally has the best outcomes. And the field of science this falls under is something called game theory, where decision makers try to solve problems as both individuals and in groups. So the most important part of game theory as it applies to entrepreneurship is something called the iterated prisoner's dilemma. And the iterated prisoner's dilemma is like a game where groups of people try to win and they base it on trust. So basically players can rip each other off or they can choose to collaborate. In the end, it turns out that after decades of research and testing, that the best algorithm to win this type of game is a solution called tit for tat, which means if you decide to collaborate with me, I'll collaborate back with you. If you decide to rip me off, I'll rip you off. The point is that if you can find a group of people that you trust and you know you won't rip each other off, you can win the game nearly every time. It's almost impossible to beat you. Again, we talked about this in previous episodes, but think of it like a SEAL team or any other high trust group. Trust is the root culture that you can build businesses on too. One of my favorite thinkers on this kind of topic, his name is Naval Ravikant. And here he is on both entrepreneurship, the free market, and how the iterated prisoner's dilemma and compound interest can be built using trust. Check this clip out.
So you said one should pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. Why?
Yeah, this is an insight into what makes Silicon Valley work and what makes high trust societies work. Essentially, all the benefits in life come from compound interests, whether it's in relationships or making money or in learning. So compound interest is a marvelous force where it's like, you start out with 1x what you have. And then if you increase 20% a year for 30 years, it's not that you got 30 years times 20% added on. It was compounding. So it just grew and grew and grew until you suddenly got a massive amount of whatever it is, whether it's goodwill or love or relationships or money. So I think compound interest is a very important force. So you have to be able to play a long-term game. And long-term games are good, not just for compound interest, they're also good for trust. If you look at prisoner's dilemma type games, the solution to prisoner's dilemma is tit for tat, which is I'm just going to do to you what you did last time to me with some forgiveness in case there was a mistake made. But that only works in an iterated prisoner's dilemma. In other words, if we play the game multiple times. So if you're in a situation, like, for example, you're in Silicon Valley where people are doing business with each other and they know each other, they trust each other, then they do right by each other because they know this person will be around for the next game. Now, of course, that doesn't always work because you can make so much money in one move in Silicon Valley. Sometimes people betray each other because they're just like, I'm going to get rich enough off this that I don't care. So there can be exceptions to all these circumstances. But essentially, if you want to be successful, you have to work with other people and you have to figure out who can you trust and who can you trust over a long, long period of time that you can just keep playing the game with them so that compound interest and high trust will make it easier to play the game and will let you collect the major rewards, which are usually at the end of the cycle. So it's important to pick an industry where you can play long-term games and with long-term people. So those people have to signal that they're going to be around for a long time, that they're ethical, and their ethics are visible to their action.
In a long-term game, it seems that everybody is making each other rich. And in a short-term game, it seems like everybody's making themselves rich.
I think that is a brilliant formulation. Yeah, in a long-term game, it's positive sum. We're all baking the pie together. We're trying to make it as big as possible. In a short-term game, we're cutting up the pie. When you've been doing business with somebody, you've been friends with somebody for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, it just gets better and better because you trust them so easy that the friction goes down. You can do bigger and bigger things together. For example, the simplest one is getting married to someone, having kids and raising children. Like that's compound interest, right? Investing in those relationships. Those relationships end up being invaluable compared to more casual relationships. It's true in health and fitness. The fitter you are, the easier it is to stay fit. Whereas the more you deteriorate your body, the harder it is to come back and claw your way back to a baseline. It requires heroic acts.
If you're a good boss, it should be your hope that all of your employees someday become entrepreneurs if they want to do that. I have the same feeling with jiu-jitsu students becoming black belts and owning their own academy and spreading jiu-jitsu around. A good system should teach others how to run that same system and make it even better in the future. That's what a good system should do, just like a good system of education should do that. We don't have to be competitors just because you have a similar business as me. In fact, we could help each other and both grow at the same time. It's a big misconception that we're divvying up some finite pie. And Naval talks about this. We're not divvying up this small pie and we just take a piece and the first person to race to get the piece wins. That's wrong. We're baking a pie together and it can be as big as we want it to be. And we can all put in ingredients and make it really big. This is the kind of relationships that you should foster when you're starting a business. This philosophy is true with resources too. People think that there are limited resources in the world, but because we're creative, this isn't true. There are plenty of instances where humans ran out of one resource and found a different resource or a way to make that resource or a way to invent a new kind of resource or a new way of doing something. So the fact that we're saying, oh, all resources are limited, this is just simply not true. And there are a lot of examples and we can get into that at some point too. But let me make a proposal to you. Would you want to be in business with me and my friend group, knowing that we're a high trust group, we're willing to put skin in the game, we all are like invested in each other's success, and we know how to problem solve in groups. We've been doing it for a while. Wouldn't you want to be part of a group like this? I would. If I wasn't part of a group like that, I would want to be part of a group like that because I've seen the benefits of being part of groups like this. So step one for entrepreneurship for me is purpose. You know, what's the purpose of the business? Set a purpose for your business. And the very next step though is who am I assembling with? What group am I joining? Or am I doing it alone? And if you say you're doing it alone, it's not true. First of all, you can never really do anything by yourself. Try to form a high trust group around you and use the group to solve problems. Humans solve problems better in high trust groups. That is definitely going to be a theme we're going to be talking about a lot. And if you get anything from this episode, know this. Choosing your group wisely, choosing that trust group can be the difference between success and failure. There is plenty of reason why there are lots of mastermind groups and business groups and other kinds of groups in the area and beyond where literally almost all of the businesses in the group are succeeding. And each person helps the other person solve problems. And this way, no individual node fails and they succeed both as individuals and as groups. Look, if you bring something new to the market and it's valuable, the market will pay you for it. So people sometimes look at capitalism or the market and they confuse the terms anyways, but they look at it as like a bad thing. And when it's corrupted, it certainly can be a bad thing, but it can also be a place where everyone wins. You bring something new that helps people and people pay you for it, and then your employees and both sides win and everyone benefits. It's only when corruption comes in that we have a problem. So I'm going to go on a little side note here into politics, which I'm going to do maybe occasionally. And again, I don't have a label for politics, so I try to live outside the labels and talk about problems one at a time. That said, right now in America, we seem to be living in two different worlds. There's one group of people that sees all the corruption and goes, that's bad. We should do something about that. And then there's another group that says that ruling by executive order is bad and we shouldn't do that and we should adhere to the correct system. In my opinion, both of these criticisms are correct. You should criticize both of these. The corruption is bad and the system is bad. And sometimes when they're going after the corruption, it seems like they're going after personal attacks and things like that. So all these criticisms seem valid to me and we should deeply criticize both sides of it. At the core, the criticisms are pretty much exactly the same in terms of you're criticizing the system itself. The system is not doing the job it should be doing. For this segment, we're focused on businesses, but below the layer of business is just systems in general. And if you start to understand how systems work of groups of people that solve problems, you can apply it everywhere. Yes, groups of people solving problems together can be a business. It can also be a government. It could be a union. It could be a community. It could be a family. It could be a block. It could be a state. It could be a county. It could be all different kinds of things. It's all the same thing. It's systems of people solving problems in groups and what causes them to maximize. First of all, building a system that's hard to corrupt is part one. If your system is easy to corrupt or is corrupted, you need to fix that. And that's our problem right now for businesses and for governments. So for businesses, this means finding the right high trust people to work with. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to work with people, find high trust ones and build that system together. Define what that system is. In our next episode, I'm going to pretend that you're my business partner and I'm yours. And what should we expect of each other? So our next episode of this segment, that's what we're going to explore. We're going to see what it means to be each other's business partners and how we build trust. But for now, if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, let's focus on the two parts of this podcast, which is purpose. What is the purpose of your business? If your business doesn't have purpose, give it one. Assign it one. For example, the purpose of Pearl Street Grill and Brewery, we assigned the purpose that we're going to revitalize downtown area around us. That was the purpose we gave ourselves, and it drove us to do that. We remodeled a lot of places, and a lot of businesses came around us after we started at Pearl Street. So the purpose we gave ourselves was to help build the downtown area, and we let that drive us, and we still let that drive us. The second thing, who do you want as your partners and why? These should be people that are high trust, willing to be transparent, critical, have a culture of criticism and respect and growth, and are willing to solve problems with you for the greater good of the business. To me, a good business isn't just a business that makes money. To me, a good business is one that has a code or a set of morals or ethics that it lives by. And that might sound counterintuitive to you, but for me, those things that make up an ethical business are usually boiled down to just a few things. The first is taking care of the business itself. If the business is not making money, then no one can benefit or grow or learn from the business. So it must take care of itself. It must take care of its customers and listen to its customers and change when they ask you to change. You should listen to the employees and take care of the employees. If you're a transparent business, you're going to have to take care of your employees or you'll get shunned. A business should also take care of its community. And what does that mean? Well, that can mean a lot of things. You can decide what kind of community give back you want your business to have. You can do things that are above and beyond. You can also do things like influence politics. That's what a lot of businesses do right now for the wrong reasons. They influence politics to write their own codes and things like this. We could also use businesses to influence politics for the right reasons. This is entirely possible and an area that is not so strongly explored. And the last thing that a good ethical business should do is take care of the environment. So a good business will adhere to the 5 pillars of an ethical business: taking care of itself, taking care of its customers, taking care of its employees, taking care of its community, and taking care of the environment whenever possible. I mean, think about this. The world is set up to be run by businesses, right? So changing the government is very hard. It's so entrenched with divide and corruption. You can't really change the government that easily. We're all trying. Everyone that has intentions, either on the left or the right, in their mind is still trying to change the government for the better. And neither of us seem to be succeeding very well. But we can do something totally different. We can make a new kind of business, and those businesses could be set up to then help us control the government better. And if those businesses were transparent, they listen to the employees and the customers, and then we use the businesses to fix everything, the law of supply and demand would kick in, and that is one of the most important laws in businesses. If we demand better as customers, we can end up with better businesses. This is why, personally, in my own life, I think it's important to spend your dollars wisely. You spend your dollars with businesses that are transparent, that are ethical, that have good ingredients if it's food or chemicals you put on your body. Businesses that give back to the community and show it, that create value for every person that they touch. And how do we change like the kind of businesses we want, that we demand? You change it with culture, with community. It may sound cliche, but it's also science. If you change culture the right way, you can change progress, technology, and more. For example, most of you saw that when Sean McDermott came here as the coach of the Bills, he changed the culture first. And I heard some local sports people doubt that culture change was important. And I strongly disagree with that. Culture to me is what everything is built upon. Why? Because trust comes from culture, and so does innovation. And there are examples of this you can use in history. For example, let's just look at America. At the end of the Wild Wild West, so you're talking about the late 1800s, at the end of that time period, the culture was the Wild Wild West. That's what it was. Like, let's expand America across and get the lands going and get the states going and do all those things. Then, at the turn of the century, the culture changed to cleanliness is next to godliness. That was like the saying or the motto. And from this new cleanliness culture change, so many amazing innovations came that are some of the most important technological innovations to date. So we're talking about sanitation, running water, sewage, garbage disposal, all this kind of stuff came from the change of culture first. And I would argue that we need a culture change right now for the businesses that we demand. If we demand better businesses and vote with our dollars, we'll get better businesses. If instead of ordering off Amazon this week, and I know, we all do it sometimes. It's so convenient to just hit click and order from there. But if given the choice, let's try to give our money to businesses that are doing better things if you can. Would you rather give your money to a transparent business that takes care of its community, its employees, its environment, all these things? Or would you rather give your money to a Wall Street business that just takes care of its investors and doesn't care about you? And then goes and buys the owners a new yacht and all that stuff, right? There are different kinds of businesses possible than the ones that we already know about. And we can demand them. We got to figure out what they are first. So businesses do not have to be bad things. They do not have to be bad systems. Just like people that create them, they can be good or bad. There are many ways we can use to explore entrepreneurship to make the world around us a better place. And next week, we're going to look at some interesting new business models. Maybe some of you listening might even end up being business partners together, or even with me. So stay tuned for next week as we go into a deeper layer of what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Buffalo, New York. All right, in this next segment, we're going to look at Josh Allen getting the MVP award. How awesome is that? First of all, how can you not be happy for Josh Allen? He has every major Buffalo Bills record basically at this point and is in the prime of his career right now. But the biggest reason to be happy for him is just because of the person he is and how he represents the city. I mean, just his story alone of being an underdog, from that small town kid to the NFL MVP, the ultimate underdog story, growing up in a tiny farming town. Like, he was overlooked by all the college programs. You guys all know the story, right? Where he writes the letters to all the Division I scholarship programs and no one takes him, and then he eventually gets part of it, works his way up, and now he is the NFL MVP. The underdog story that is right in front of us that we can all look at and use to inspire ourselves, using that belief and grit and development can turn an overlooked prospect into a superstar. That the underdog mentality can lift you out of bad positions where most people would give up. If you can switch the coach in your head to remind you to be the underdog, I mean, there it is. MVP of the NFL. Josh Allen embodies this underdog spirit. Of course, like, the Super Bowl should be the final destination and the final goal, but the MVP of the NFL is a well-deserved feather in Josh's cap. Congratulations to him. I thought Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast had the best explanation of why Josh Allen deserved the MVP. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but basically the way Joe explained it, if you took the MVP caliber teams, so the teams where the MVP candidates are on, the Ravens, the Eagles, and maybe the Chiefs, if you took them all and mashed it with the Bills and made a super team, outside of the quarterback, there might only be 2 or 3 Bills on that whole roster. And the other MVP candidates had much better teams around them that would show up on this super team. So basically, Josh Allen did a lot more with a lot less. Or another way to word this is, if you took the quarterbacks off of all those teams and Saquon Barkley, the MVP candidate, off of the Philadelphia Eagles, those teams would still be probably really good, but the Bills would not be very good. So that means that Josh's value to the team, he is the MVP of the league. And it's just awesome that he's on our team, and we get to see many more years of him playing excellent, out of his mind, incredible football, putting on that cape, as they like to say. An additional rumor swirling around the NFL this week was that Myles Garrett, defensive end from the Cleveland Browns, requested a trade, and the Bills might be interested. Now, that is a really interesting rumor that I could get behind. Myles Garrett is a game-wrecking defensive lineman, and we saw what a good D-line can do to Patrick Mahomes yesterday in the Super Bowl. And if the Bills go on to get Myles Garrett or some people like that, I'm all about that. I think that's what we need to do. That, to me, is the formula for beating good quarterbacks, is a good defensive line. Now, I'm not sure if you guys saw this part, but one of the most awesome things to me about Josh Allen getting the MVP was right after he won the award, someone handed him an iPad with a video on it. And it was a video of all the kids that he helped at Oshai Children's Hospital, where he has a wing of the hospital dedicated to his grandma. And all the kids that he's helped congratulated him and sent him a message. And it brought tears to his eyes. And to me, again, that's vulnerability. And it leaves no doubt in my mind the kind of culture and person we want representing our city is that. So kudos to Josh Allen to never lose sight of what his purpose is, despite being a megastar with fame and all the money and all those things, he's still well-grounded and refocuses his efforts on things like this that matter. I also absolutely loved his short, concise message at the end that was just simply, be good, do good, God bless, go Bills. I mean, perfect thing for him to say there. And I'm sure we're going to see that everywhere going forward on t-shirts and billboards and all kinds of stuff. So congratulations to Josh Allen. Put that feather in your cap, hold your head high, and next year, let's keep going. One more accolade to go beyond this. In our final segment here, this is a new segment that we are calling the Inspirational Buffalonian of the Week. This week, I'm choosing Genevieve Pates, but her friends call her V, everyone calls her V, and she is a jiu-jitsu student here in Buffalo, New York. And I've had discussions with other black belts in the area. The other day, we're sitting around talking, and we were saying just how much Genevieve inspires us. So we'll be sitting around maybe feeling a little lazy, and you'll see Genevieve on the internet working out in the mornings, lifting weights, training again, going back, lifting weights again. And it's just inspiring. It motivated me to be a better coach, and the other coaches were saying this as well. Before I met Genevieve, I didn't know a person like Genevieve existed. And it made me really happy to find out that a person like that did exist. First of all, she's a deeply invested, caring mother of 5. She isn't just an amazing mother of 5 who trains jiu-jitsu. That in itself is just an awesome story. But she's a mom of 5 that competes at the highest level possible of her sport. So that means that she goes to the big tournaments around the country and competes. V is 39 years old. She has 5 kids between the ages of 5 and 12 years old, 3 boys and 2 girls. And her husband's a police officer. And he's awesome because he works to help her compete and allow her to travel so that she can go to all these competitions in California, Florida, where the big competitions are. She won gold medal at the PANS. The PANS is like one of the biggest tournaments in the United States, second only to the World Championships. She won that at white belt. She got second in the Master Worlds at blue belt twice. So that's really, the Master Worlds is the biggest one for her division. And she's gotten silver medal twice at that. And upcoming now, she has the PANS coming up here in March. She's getting ready for that right now. And that will be at the end of March. So right now she's training for that. And she's posting all these videos of how she's lifting weights and working out. And I'm like, wake up in the morning and it's cold. And I'm like, I can do it because look at this mom of 5 here. And she is killing it. So Genevieve, thank you for being an inspiration to all of us who see you. Thank you for being an inspiration to your kids, to other kids that see you, to other parents, and to everyone in the community. Really, truthfully, I'm so happy to know that someone like you exists and you motivate so many of us. And not just that, but Genevieve brings a culture with her, a community with her. She values this. She understands what it's like to build trust first. Every community that she's part of that I've seen, she brings value to it. So V, keep it up, keep inspiring everyone, and good luck for the PANS as you're training. Genevieve does train at my school, Buffalo United Martial Arts, but she trained previously at SPAR under Eduardo, who's an amazing coach. There are so many great jiu-jitsu coaches in the area, and there's an elite group of females forming here. And when I say elite, basically the head of my gym is Essential BJJ. The female on that side of it is Fionn Davies, and Fionn is #1 in the world champion. She's the hardest to beat right now. And then within our own community here in Buffalo, so Fionn trains in New York City area with Professor JT. But in our area in Buffalo here, there are good girls almost on every team, and all the girls get together, they train together. For example, Dusty from West New York MMA, she's a brown belt. She's also married to Brandon Muckle, who was one of my good training partners coming up. And her game is awesome. She trains with the girls on our team all the time. Dusty runs a women's self-defense course. It's free, I believe, at West New York MMA. And that's on Sundays from 11 to 12. If you are a woman out there and you want to join the self-defense course, maybe it's not even for women, maybe it's just for anyone. But if you want to join that course, I would reach out to West New York MMA or talk to Dusty. She's amazing. At Sub-Zero, they have the no-gi champion of the area. Her name's Ann Shell. She is really good and highly skilled. There's also Michaela at Sub-Zero, who's excellent. There's Heather Beardsley from Eduardo School at SPAR. There's Angelie from Takeover. She's a blue belt, I believe. She is really good. Amanda at Integrity, training under Caveman. There's Marissa at Lumber City. She teaches classes and she trains there. And then there's the McBride girls that wrestled in our area and now wrestle for Life University, and one of them is a national champion. We'll give an update on how the McBride girls are doing in an upcoming episode. So the grappling community here is just expanding. There's so many girls on all the teams. Of course, I've mentioned ones on our teams before, but it's just great to see that the community here is growing and they're pushing each other in the competition scene as well. If you're a female in the area and you're looking to get into jiu-jitsu or try something out, there's the self-defense class I mentioned with Dusty, but find a class that's close to you, a school that's close to you, and go try them out, or go try a few of them out and test the culture and see if you like the atmosphere and see if you like the instructions and the instructors and the place. Go feel it out. If I went to a different city, that's what I would do. I'd feel out a bunch of academies and see which one felt the most at home to me. Jiu-jitsu is for everyone that wants it. So if you are a mother of 5 and you don't think that you can do jiu-jitsu, I strongly disagree with that because there's evidence of that you can. If you're an athlete in the area and you're looking for something new to get into, come down and train. Come check it out. Find a school near you, get involved, let the school change you, and then use that to change the rest of your life. That was the process that I followed, and so many others that have found the art of jiu-jitsu. A few other things we'd like to note this week. In birding and the outdoors, Shelley Seidman found Erie County's first Barrow's goldeneye. So this is a type of duck similar to the one that is common here called a common goldeneye that you can find on the Niagara River all winter long. She found it in Erie Basin Marina, and this is the first one ever found in this county that I am aware of. It is hard to find a bird like this. There are thousands and thousands of ducks in the Niagara River, and if you want to go looking for a bird like this, dress warm and be prepared for a Where's Waldo type adventure where you're just sorting through thousands of ducks and you need to find the one that looks slightly different than the rest. And that's what it's like. Kudos to Shelley for finding that bird and respect to her for going out in the cold and braving the elements and also getting the word out so other people who might want to try to see that bird can have a chance to go see it. So congratulations. Some upcoming events in Buffalo this week. We got a Bandits game. That's on Saturday the 15th at home. On Thursday, February 13th is the Queen City Roller Derby at Riverworks. You also have Galentine's Day featuring Cami Clune and The Fringe playing along with Savo Highway. And that is at the Kaz. It's a great new venue if you haven't been there on Seneca Street. They took an old bank and they remodeled it. Really cool venue. On Friday the 14th, Badfish is playing at Town Ballroom. So Badfish is basically Sublime. They use Sublime covers. I've seen them a few times. They're really good. On Saturday, February 15th, Oregon Fairchild's anniversary show is going to be playing at Ironworks. So it's another great music venue. And finally, if you're into flowers, there's an orchid exhibit at the Botanical Gardens that has some cool mixed events around it at night and during the day. So if you like orchids, go check out the Botanical Gardens. Lastly, our weekly shout out to a local business goes out to Mighty Meats. So Mighty Meats makes ground beef that has blends of organs in it. So super nutritious liver, things like this are going to be right blended in with the ground beef. So just a small little bit so you can't really taste it. It tastes super good. It's super nutritious for you. And as you know, I healed a bunch of my health issues when I did a strict carnivore diet for 16 months. And now I'm still meat-based and I eat mostly meat. And I include Mighty Meats in my diet as much as possible for nutrients that you get from things like liver and spleen and things like this. You can find them on Instagram under Mighty Meats. You can also shop for them locally at the Farm Shop in Buffalo. That's on the Lexington and Ashland, around that location. If you're looking to get healthy meats added to your diet, I strongly recommend them. As a side note, a shout out to Heidi Lynn and her husband who messaged me this week over the weekend and have lost 100 pounds on carnivore diet and healed themselves a bunch as well. Love hearing stories like that, or stories about anyone healing themselves in any way possible and making themselves better and growing. If you're just tuning in, please rewind and listen to the beginning about Leah Bellito. She is a missing person from our community, and we're looking for information on her. And if you have any information, please call the Amherst Police Department or the Buffalo office of the FBI. Keep in mind, Buffalo, that a rising tide lifts all ships. Until next time, be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills. We're going to leave you with this quote from Naval Ravikant on the importance of having purpose in your life.
I found that thinking about yourself is a source of all unhappiness and misery.
Really?
Yes. Self-obsession is the root of all unhappiness. The happiest people in life, when people are at their best, is because they love something more than they love themselves. They love their children, they love God, they love their mission, what have you. And all misery comes from rumination, from sitting around, being depressed, going in circles in your own head about me, me, me. Me is a disease. The more you self-obsess, the less happy you're going to be. I guarantee you that.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.